Championship week continues from HSBC Arena in Buffalo, New York. It's the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference Championship game between the two teams that shared the regular season title in this conference. The Bronx of Ryder and the Niagara Purple Eagles, each with 19 wins to date. Niagara was the #1 seed in the MAAC tournament. They had a double bye, played just one game, and survived a scare from Iona yesterday, while Ryder defeated Canisius and Fairfield to reach tonight's matchup. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Buffalo. Sean McDonough along with Jay Billis and Bill Raftery. Delighted to have you with us. Certainly Niagara will have the crowd on its side here tonight. They're about 25 minutes from their campus, and they are an emotional story. Third time in this game in the last 4 years. They haven't made it to the big dance yet.
And you can argue there's a lot of pressure on these guys to get it done this year, led by some seniors. Juan Mendez, the first, an outstanding player, but they're playing a contrast in styles, a guard-oriented Ryder team.
And it is an interesting history between these two teams in the regular season. They played twice, split their regular season meetings, and the two teams averaged more than 100 points per game. As you would say, Bill, we expect a lot of woo-woo.
Well, sit back and relax, as I know you can, working with Jay and myself. They go up and down. There's switch pressure points. There'll be turnovers, quick hitters. This will be an enjoyable evening. It
should be, and each team also features a 2,000-point career scorer.
And for Ryder, it's Jerry Johnson, and Iverson-like talent in the MAAC. He gets to the free throw line. You've got to find him in transition, and he is great off the dribble.
Juan Mendez, Jay, big, tough, good around the rim, comes out and screens, hits the three on a pick and pop. As a trail guy, not bad with the three as well.
Mendez, the player of the year in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. For Ryder, Jerry Johnson with Robert Taylor, Jason Thompson, who was on the all-rookie team, Edwin Muniz, and Paul Johnson. And for Niagara, 3 seniors in the starting lineup. Alvin Cruz, the point guard, with David Brooks and Mendez. J.R. Duffey and Lorenzo Myles are the other starters. Ryder in the conference championship game for the first time ever. It's their 8th year in the league. They've had considerable success in the regular season, but have struggled mightily in the tournament. Never been in the championship game prior to this year. They're dressed in the cranberry, Niagara in the white, and the tip controlled by Ryder, but it went to David Brooks of Niagara.
Hey, Sean McDonough, Jay Billis. Ryder goes.
Niagara takes the tip. Mendez never got off his feet.
You can relate, huh?
They go right into Mendez for the dunk.
He got off the net time, Jay.
Nice little 4-round one, the entry. And
the
Mendez
senior
knows how to finish, doesn't he?
He sure does. Senior from Montreal, 6'8", 245. Joe Mihalich, his coach, said if he was 6'10", he'd be a surefire first-round pick in the NBA. Jerry Johnson, first team all-conference for the 3rd year in a row. He's the best player for Ryder, wearing number 21.
He lets it come to him. Muniz has got a game around the rim. This kid, a little kiss. He knows how to play, Jay.
It's unorthodox, but he's got every move in the book down in the low box. Here's the trap.
And a steal by Jerry Johnson. The pull up for 3. And Ryder does not look nervous right out of the gate. A lot of time in these championship games in a one-bid league, you see a lot of nerves. We saw that in Albany early last year when Manhattan beat Niagara for the conference championship. But no sign of it on either side. Brooks to Mendez for another dunk.
Boy, they can really break you down. You press and scramble. These kids are good with the bounce and find people.
You've got to handle those traps near midcourt.
Nice
break
cut.
this to score.
Well, we mentioned the high-scoring history between these two, and it's starting out that way again.
So that was a simple little dive, an X off the high post.
Paul Johnson the scorer to give Ryder a 7-4 lead.
Mendez getting the ball inside. You can see the nice lob to Mendez, and he catches it and finishes with the left hand.
Cruz gets this open look.
Alvin Cruz buries a 3. 41% from 3. He's made 52 threes on the year now. Every Niagara starter can shoot the 3. Each starter has made at least 25 this year.
The nice open look again. You think I'd be going out on the fence if I said the first team that guards might win this game?
Well, Niagara's got to do a better job of handling that screen up top. Nice little discard by Muniz.
As he pulled down the rebound, he averages 5 rebounds per game.
He plays
12
old.
points.
Sorry, Sean, he plays old.
Nice spin move into the lane. The shot wouldn't drop for Paul Johnson, the junior from Virginia Beach, but Ryder got it back with 2.5 gone by.
Boy, how long is Jason Thompson? He has arms that go forever and very helpful at the top of that defense.
This is Thompson, and that's a 3. Jason Thompson, just his 6th 3 of the year. He was 5 for 25 for the season coming into the ballgame.
Here's that 1-2-1-1 again when it goes three-quarter court. They're just trying to slow Niagara down a bit.
Lorenzo Myles, a runner. And a good rebound in traffic. Again, that length of Thompson in evidence.
A great-looking prospect. Solid runs the floor inside the discard. Not a good play. Duffey with the foul.
Ed Corby with the call. Mike Kitts, Art McDonald, the other officials here tonight. Joe Mihalich is the coach at Niagara. In his 7th season, 7 straight winning seasons. And he has them in the championship game for the 3rd time in 4 years. They've had some heartbreakers, including a 1-point loss last year against Manhattan in Albany. Many of you have read the stories, including a beautiful piece by Eric Brady this week at USA Today about Joe's 80-year-old mother, Dolores, who's very sick with colon cancer. It's Joe's dream and his mom's dream to see Joe coach in the NCAA Tournament. And they all know this could be the last opportunity. Jerry Johnson with the penetration and a travel call against Mooney's.
Well, they are getting what they want, though. Either the dive and the man-to-man or getting through gaps.
Well, Niagara went to a 2-3 zone on the out-of-bounds underneath. Not everybody knew what they were in. But Niagara's got to do a much better job of guarding the spread offense by Ryder. Too many open cuts.
Did you know that Joe Mihalich went to Lasalle, by the way, as we
Yes.
take a look at Don Hornum?
In his 8th year at Ryder, after 8 seasons there as an assistant to Kevin Bannon, 127 wins. He's been to the NIT as the head coach at Ryder. Took them to their first NIT appearance in his 1st year. They haven't been to the NCAA under Coach Harnum. The last appearance was in 1994 when they were in the Northeast Conference. Myles a miss. James Mathis, an excellent 6th man, is on the court now for Niagara, number 12. Jerry Johnson couldn't get it to drop, and Alvin Cruz, the point guard, the rebound and push. And Johnson fouled him from behind.
Boy, it's awfully nice when your point guard can grab a rebound and take it on his own. Give Cruz a lot of credit for sticking his nose in there and getting down on the glass.
4 guys back, too. He was going to go right to the rim. Very talented guy. Makes plays for this team. Very consistent performer.
All-time assist leader at Niagara, 621 entering tonight's action. The 3 wouldn't drop for Brooks, who's scored 20 or more in each of the last 5 games. He was the star yesterday for Niagara in their 3-point win over Iona. Mathis the steal and a nice push ahead to Brooks.
Well, what a play, Sean. Mathis, 6th man of the year in the MAAC. Solid contribution with that assist.
And not just the deflection. How about knocking it ahead to an open teammate? That is alertness personified.
Brooks has already fared better than he did last year against Manhattan in the conference championship game. He did not score, and he says he's lived with that for 52 weeks, hoping to atone for that tonight. It is last chance to get to the NCAA tournament. He's a senior. Mooney's the miss, and again the Purple Eagles look to run. Brooks steps into a 3. Mendez a tip that wouldn't go, and another rebound for Jason Thompson, the freshman at 6'9", 215 from Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And Paul Johnson, no relation, nails a 3 to give Ryder a 4-point lead.
You'd like to say you got to get back, but even when they get back, they get open looks. You got to identify and tag people.
You got to fan out when you get back in transition because Ryder can shoot it.
Mendez, the offensive rebound and dunk. Well, you mentioned, Bill, Joe Mihalich played at Lasalle. He played for Paul Westhead. And this game reminds you of the days when Westhead coached at Loyola Marymount. And no matter who they played, it just seemed to be a track meet up and down.
Outscoring and drag you along.
It was always nice to play against Loyola Marymount because everybody had a chance to get their career high.
Little shuffle cut side pick and roll. Nice hesitation with the bounce.
Good defense by Brooks in the lane. Denied the pass into Mooney's, and then a foul called against Brooks. To the dismay of Brooks and Joe Mihalich. Well, just what we expected. Up and down at the start, and Mendez a factor early. A couple of dunks. for the Purple Eagles of Niagara. And just a short drive from Niagara Falls, HSBC Arena in downtown Buffalo. Niagara with about 6,000 purple-clad fans trying to cheer them on to their first NCAA appearance since 1970. Down by 2 to Ryder. Steve Castleberry is checked in for Ryder. Terrence Mouton also in the game, number 22. And the lob to perfection. Jerry Johnson to Paul Johnson to give Ryder a 4-point lead, 6 minutes deep.
Way too easy right now for Ryder.
Jerry Johnson plays so relaxed. He lets the game come to him.
Well, Coach Harnum told us he really has emerged as an all-around point guard. Used to be more of a scorer. Now he really has the complete game, setting up his teammates and continuing to score. And Mathis lost it in the traffic. It gets turned over to the Bronx.
That kind of a play is a little bit annoying for a coach. Somebody should have run to the corner. Here's a nice little lob to the 10. Easily done, and as Jay mentioned, defense negligent.
Just a little screen along the backside and slipped in along the baseline. But you can't just get caught watching the ball. You have to be cognizant of man and ball.
Armel Minium is also in for Ryder, number 31, a forward. There's Castleberry, who transferred from Marist, which is also in this Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. Brooks called for a travel.
A nice job defensively by Johnson. A little hesitation move by Brooks, and Johnson didn't bite, just stayed in front.
Now Brooks had those 2 open looks, Jay, and you were watching it before the game. Great looking stroke, and yet unable to convert as the game started.
Yeah, he's a good shooter, and you don't worry too much about their legs in this game because Niagara's only played 1 game because of the double bye, as Sean spoke of before.
It's an unusual setup in this conference. The regular season champion, number 1 seed, gets a double bye. Ryder also had a bye through 1 round. They shared the regular season championship, but Niagara got the number 1 seed. They had the better record against the 3rd place team, Fairfield. They swept Fairfield. That's an over and back violation against Ryder, while Ryder split its 2 games with Fairfield. Fairfield finished 3rd. St. Peter's, Iona, Manhattan, Canisius, Marist, Loyola of Maryland, and Siena. The rest of the teams in this conference. Manhattan, the defending champ. Of course, when they got into the tournament last year, they made noise beating Florida.
The 1-2-2 zone.
That's Myles, Lorenzo Myles, a sophomore from Washington, D.C., out of Gonzaga.
You get the feeling no defense is going to work against these teams. Wide open looks.
Well, the truth is, you make a couple passes right now, you're getting any shots you want. Make the defense move and then take advantage of it.
Neither coach seemed confident about his team's ability to stop the other. Don Harm said we just need to try to score with them. That seems to be the attitude on both sides. There's a try for 3 that wouldn't go for Robert Taylor, and a deep 3 by Terrence Mouton. He's the cousin of Brandon Mouton, who played at the University of Texas on their Final Four team a couple of years ago. Mendez for 3. Juan Mendez.
That's where he's tough, I think. The trail guy, heady play, getting into the lane and kicking it back out.
Boy, this is fun to watch. Welcome to the Metro Atlantic. We are conscience-free.
Woo-woo! Saturday in the park.
First Niagara lead since it was 2-0, 20 seconds into the ball game. Jerry Johnson, he's from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, out of J.P. McCaskey High School, where he's the all-time leading scorer. Taylor, tough shot, and he made it. Robert Taylor, the senior from Philadelphia.
Nice step through. Got his guy airborne.
Alvin Cruz, one of the 3 seniors in the starting lineup. He's from Puerto Rico.
He has been awfully steady during his time at Niagara. Really good passer.
By the way, I'll buy dinner if there's a shot clock violation.
Well, they're down to 10, which is about as close as it's been to a violation. Cruz missed a 3. And the rebound taken off the floor by Mouton. From Lafayette, Louisiana.
Ryder's done a pretty good job of sending their guards to the glass in addition to the big guys.
Minion missed a 3. Mendez the rebound with Castleberry on his back. Cruz a pull up for 3. He thought his arm was hit by Mouton.
Like a couple of passes. Got a nice run to the rim by Castleberry.
And Mendez, the foul. He was trying to hold the ball, but fouled Castleberry.
And Sean, look at Johnson, by the way. He just went after Mendez. I mean, that's what you love about a leader. The little guy stepping right in. And I think Mendez got a lot of the ball on this play. It just looks unattractive when you go for the shoulder area.
Yeah, I didn't think he did anything wrong.
No.
He just went after the ball with both hands.
It's the first foul on Mendez. They had a timeout. Mendez showing a complete game here in the first 9 minutes in Buffalo. Back in Buffalo, where the Niagara fans are hoping to celebrate the first trip to the NCAA Tournament for their school since 1970. Mendez off to a good start, and this was called a foul.
Well, you just love the reaction here at the end of the play. That's protecting your teammates. And Jay, I thought it was a lot of ball and clean. And then, of course, once you hit the deck, it becomes very unattractive.
And then Jerry Johnson, just trying to protect his teammate, comes in and says something to Mendez where he should have just stayed out of it. That's what made the situation a little bit explosive. But I didn't think there was anything wrong with the play made by Mendez, just going after it hard.
Good aggressive basketball.
So Castleberry is at the line. He's a 63% free throw shooter. These are two excellent free throw shooting teams. The two best in the league, two of the best in the country, both north of 75% for the year. Castleberry makes a pair. He's a 7-footer. Senior. And back into the ball game, Jason Thompson. Castleberry goes out. He tends to get winded. He was a starter earlier in the year, but they've reduced his minutes now as a bench player down to about 17 a game.
And with that, he's been more productive in less minutes.
Yeah, they say that he's revitalized.
Quick three, and that's nothing new. J.R. Duffey, the sophomore from Fort Worth, Texas, with the miss.
Look at this blow-by speed. Back to the corner.
Good pass.
Moody's bumped from behind by Mathis, and that's the first on James, a junior from Newark, New Jersey, out of St. Benedict's, where he played for Danny Hurley.
Hey, Danny, the old Seton Hall star, post-entry.
Mathis just trying to reach over the top. That's going to be a foul every time. And beautiful execution off the out-of-bounds under. Joe Mihalich cannot be pleased with his defense on a special situation.
He's just nailed his guy and begged for the ball.
4-point lead for Ryder after the basket by Mooney's. And the answer at the other end.
Duffey with the nice move inside, although he went middle. If he had gone to the baseline side with a simple drop step, he would have had a layup.
First bucket for J.R. Duffey. Jerry Johnson has 3 points. He had that early three, and they've done a good job guarding him since, although he tends to be more active and more of a shooter in the second half of games.
He is a patient player, doesn't force anything.
Mooney's an air ball with the shot clock running out. Oh, there's
Dinner on referee.
a shot clock
It hit the rim. It hit the rim.
Tonight, ESPN's coverage of Championship Week, presented by 7-Up, continues. The championship game in the West Coast Conference. St. Mary's, number 2 seed, against one of the best teams in the country, Gonzaga. It's the West Coast Conference Championship, midnight Eastern tonight, over on ESPN.
And what a load of great players there will be in that game, and not just on Gonzaga's team. Paul Marigny, a terrific guard, knocks down threes, and Daniel Kickert, an Aussie, can really play as well.
Getting to the rim. I hope McDonald's is open later, by the way.
Nice follow by Alvin Cruz after Mendez missed his first shot of the night. Niagara has tied it up at 21. Under 9 minutes to go in the first half.
Both these coaches are relaxed. The players are relaxed. Look at this. Teed it up late. Johnson has range.
Brooks, the rebound and run off to Barry DeRozier, just off the bench. His first bucket puts Niagara back on top. A sophomore from Orlando, Barry DeRozier.
Boy, how about Brooks with the rebound, and then it looked like he was shot out of a cannon, and all of a sudden they had a 2-on-1 break. Outstanding.
He's an explosive guy. He's a tough matchup for people. Another open look.
Good inside position by Taylor, then he lost it off his leg and out of bounds after the Mooney's miss.
The open floor, you finally get a good look. Nice run out. decent balance with two guys back, but just the foot speed of Brooks makes that play as Mihalich gets him to relax a little, get into his head.
Boy, Brooks playing the very best basketball of his career here at the end. 20 points or more in 5 straight games. Averaged 25 points per game in that stretch, and he had 23 yesterday, the key in their win over Iona.
He took that loss personally last year. You know, this is a dedication.
Mendez scores inside. A lot of Canadian media here to chronicle his exploits tonight. He's from Montreal. His parents are from the Dominican Republic, but he grew up in the little Burgundy section of Montreal. There's another turnover by the Bronx. 11 points for Mendez, who is the all-time leading scorer in Division I college basketball in this country among those born in Canada. Some pretty good players on that list, including Fox and Nash.
Where's Leo Rowdens?
Buffalo. I don't know where Leo's tonight. We'll see if we can get him on the phone. Goes to the NCAA Tournament. Niagara with a 4-point lead led by Juan Mendez, already 11 points and 4 rebounds.
Mendez gets double teamed here by Ryder, does a nice job of stepping out of it, and then Bill, he reposts, and he's got an unselfish team that gets it to him yet again.
How about that nice little move too? They're using the opponent's weight to make that drop step to the goal. We've seen him outside, we've seen him inside, and look at this progression. Much like yours, Jay.
Yeah, maybe the freshman part.
3 years in a row, first team All-Metro Atlantic. He was the conference player of the year this year. He will go to the NBA prospect tryout camp in Portsmouth, Virginia, as will Jerry Johnson of Ryder. They'll go there in April. Out of bounds, last touch by Niagara. We're in Buffalo, New York, in the home of the Buffalo Sabres, although they haven't been using it much lately. It's the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference Championship game. Sean McDonough, Bill Raftery, and Jay Billis. Joe Mihalich and the Purple Eagles of Niagara trying yet again to get over the hump and make it to the NCAA tournament. They lead by 4.
He was upset with that call. I think he was right, too. Out of bounds going against him.
2-3 zone. You have to have an awareness for Jerry Johnson. You have to know where he is all the time and shade toward him in this.
This can help. Get a little inside post up. The lane is open there. Thompson, what a terrific looking game he's developing.
1-3-1 trap here.
He signed early, fortunately, I think, for Ryder. He's just become bigger and worked on his game. He's going to have a great career there.
Well, he'd like to be a television sports anchor. Maybe we get him on Dream Job. Jason is done with his basketball days. Wide open Mathis, the miss, but Lorenzo Myles inside to pull out the offensive rebound and reset.
Boy, nobody paid attention to detail there. All the bigs moved away. The little guy attacking the rim.
And there were 5 red shirts in the lane. It's like they were all waiting for somebody else to grab it. And Myles did him a favor and did.
Well, when you're that size out, when Brooks gets the open look here, they can make passes with Mendez out top.
6 minutes to go. The 3 ball by Brooks gives him a 5-point lead. That's his 75th 3 of the year. He leads the team in that category. Ryder in a drought, which continues with a Mouton miss, rebounded by Mendez.
Muniz made a great cut to the middle of the lane there. They just couldn't knock it down.
Mendez handed it off to Cruz. They've known each other a long time. They were teammates in Florida at the Florida Air Academy in Melbourne, a prep school. Cruz went there from Puerto Rico. When he arrived, he didn't speak any English, so he took to Mendez, even though he's from Canada. His ancestry Dominican. He speaks Spanish. Myles a 3 and a mini timeout called by Don Harnum. The largest lead for Niagara now 8 after the 3 ball by the sophomore from Washington, D.C.
I think the zone's been effective, Jay. They've done a great job, but this is the play you meant earlier. Everybody stays in their area to check out. Look at all the shirts.
Shot goes up. Everybody's watching, a spectator. And Myles comes in and
This is
takes
what
it
I love.
off.
I love this. He can see over everybody. They get an open look, adjust the zone. And Brooks, a little nylon.
Say he has really improved that stroke from last year. Always a good shooter, but that a very compact-looking shooting stroke.
So important to both schools. But when you think of Niagara knocking on the door each year and coming up empty, you've really got to do a lot of self-analysis. How do I treat the kids? How are the 8 days off was a dilemma for Niagara as well.
Yeah, he said the double bye was a little bit of an advantage. You're more rested tonight. Ryder playing for the third time in 3 days, while Niagara playing for the second time in 2 days. But you're certainly rusty playing against teams that have been playing in the tournament already. And yesterday, Niagara fell behind Iona 11-2 before they started to settle in. Came back and took a 7-point lead at one time in the first half. Held on, nearly blew a 9-point lead late.
And Joe Mihalich not shy about saying he doesn't like the double bye.
Don Harnum not wasting any time, going right to man now.
And Mendez isn't fazed by that. He scores.
A little late on the double, and he got himself into the lane. Little kiss at the end.
He really does a nice job of using the glass from both sides.
He has 13.
But his zone has really been confusing them. They get in the lane here, they get good things done.
Paul Johnson for three. That ends the run for Niagara. Johnson, the junior, he scored his season high against Niagara in their loss at Niagara on January 20th. He had 13 points in that ball game.
There's a second three from exactly the same spot.
Did you see Mathis get up on that shot? Terrific elevation, but right down the gut.
That pushes the lead back to 9. Under 4 minutes to go in the first half. Strong move to the bucket, but then a fadeaway that drops for Jason Thompson.
What a talented young player. He is going to be terrific as he matures.
A great prospect. Looks like Joe Mihalich, maybe an injury or some blood on the shirt. Get a sub right up.
Stop the play, and they're pointing at one of the Niagara players who I believe does have blood. It might be Mendez.
You know, Sean, you've heard this story from me. Joe Mihalich's dad taught me at Lasalle. Obviously, I don't understand much of what he taught.
It was a lot to be embarrassed by that.
Joe did. It's worked out.
Right, figure one of the prominent graduates of Ryder. And there's Dolores Mihalich, the 80-year-old mother of the Ryder coach, battling colon cancer. She was diagnosed about 3 months before their appearance in the conference tournament championship game last year. Unfortunately, it has spread to her liver several times this year. Joe has made the trip to Philadelphia to visit his mother when she's been undergoing treatment. She said it's his team's dream and Joe's dream to make it to the tournament, and I think he wants it for me too. And she's exactly right. And there are a lot of people cheering for the Mihalichs who otherwise don't have much interest in this game.
Now, you alluded to that USA story. It was magnificent.
And you know the dad, the late Joe Mihalich.
Yeah, he was a philosophy teacher at Lasalle. I got my hook and had no idea what he was talking about.
Taught philosophy. The dad, Joe's dad, and Dolores' late husband, was a pitcher in the Yankees minor league system. Once roomed with Whitey Ford in the minors.
Edwin Whitey Ford. Nice blow by, but Brooks couldn't finish.
Paul Johnson the finish. Well, the last time they met, Ryder won in overtime, 113-106 in Lawrenceville, New Jersey, the home of Ryder. There were 28 lead changes in that game, so you're never really out of it when these two teams get together.
And Jerry Johnson has been quiet. He's a guy that can really light it up quickly.
Here's Paul Johnson, double teamed on the baseline and almost turned it over. It hit Lorenzo Myles and went out of bounds. A break for the Bronx. Here's a look back at some of that action. It was senior day the last time these two teams met. Jerry Johnson in the final home game at Alumni Gym, the 45-year-old building, the oldest building on their campus in Lawrenceville, New Jersey. Only 1,500 seats in there. One of the great little bandboxes in college basketball, and it turned out to be a happy ending.
And Don Harnum, great recognizing of talent, and you have to at this level. Johnson, an unheralded recruit as he came into the school, and ended up with a bunch of points and wins for the program.
Well, we weren't sure he would qualify academically. His high school coach was so sure that he would be a great player. He told Don Harnum, I tell you what, if he doesn't qualify, I'll pay for his first year at Ryder as a non-qualifier. And you'll be glad you had him the rest of the way. He did qualify and has had a great 4-year career. And here are the two meetings in the regular season. Wild games, both of them. And plenty of numbers put on the board by the Stars on each side.
Mendez not only had 31 in that first game, he had 29 in the second.
They got to get some help here.
Here come the double Mendez. It doesn't help.
He knows that.
Jump hook and 15 points for Juan Mendez.
He knows how to go away from the traffic, so you really got to explode into that trap.
You really have to go on the pass. You can't go on the catch.
Or dribble.
He grew up in Montreal, but was not a hockey player. Started playing basketball when he was 12. Made his own backboard, put it on the side of his apartment building in Montreal. Thompson lowered his shoulder, might have gotten away with a charge, then got his own rebound.
What an effort by him.
And the shot for Robert Taylor wouldn't go. And Cruz will walk it up.
Cruz wearing the Puerto Rican flag on his socks.
Nice hands.
And Jerry Johnson couldn't get it away from Cruz. A lot of time off the shot clock. Cruz says we won't worry about that as he charges to the bucket. Mendez got his own rebound, lost it on the floor. Last touch by Niagara. Mendez got right in the face of Ed Corbett. And Alvin Cruz jumped in between the two. They are, as we mentioned, longtime teammates and friends. And sometimes they argue on the court, but they're like brothers. They know each other and love each other so much that they will sometimes not be afraid to get on each other's case pretty hard.
And this, I think that he was right on the call, but it's, well, you know, I think he was right.
Yeah, he was
Corbett
right.
may just point it in the wrong direction, but smart play by the guard.
Back to the 2-3 zone for Niagara.
1 minute to go in the half. 7-point lead for the Purple Eagles. Johnson got in the air and got in trouble. Myles a 2-on-1. Takes it all the way and scores.
You got to feed the big guy, though. Give it to the big guy running the floor. A little homage, Jay.
Yeah, but Myles had the angle.
He has 7. He averages 8.5 per game. And a timeout called by Ryder with 48 seconds to go in the half.
Jerry Johnson trying to do too much, and Myles just taking it the other way. He is one tough kid. I think their best defender.
Tomorrow night, ESPN's coverage of Championship Week presented by 7-Up continues. It's the Horizon League Championship from Milwaukee. The Panthers of UWM will have the crowd on their side at U.S. Cellular Arena. Bruce Pearl's team hosts the Titans of Detroit. And another good year for Wisconsin, Milwaukee at 23-5, including a win in the bracket buster over Hawaii, and they are hot down the stretch as they so often are.
And they make a pretty good case for getting in as an at-large team if they were to lose to Detroit. And every bubble team out there, especially in the bigger conferences, is rooting for Wisconsin, Milwaukee, because
they would be right alongside those teams, maybe even ahead of a few, if they were to drop that game.
And how about this weekend? I mean, you can't give me a sure 4th seed.
Oh, that's true.
Number 1 4th seed.
That's true. You cannot.
It's unbelievable.
Although if it ended right now, who would you give it to?
I think Connecticut's gotten better, but I don't think by the poll and by all of the material that it supplied. But I would say Kentucky or Kansas.
I would still give it to Kansas. You know, it's funny. Everybody seems to be giving credit to teams that have lost players for a period of time. And if that's so, why not give credit to Kansas for losing Keith Langford at the start of the game on Saturday?
3-1 goal for Johnson. Rebound in traffic by Duffey. Joe Mihalich tells Cruz, we'd like the last shot. Try to take a double-digit lead in the locker room at halftime.
A little 1-4 at the end, unless they give him a bump.
We'll take it with about 3 or 4 seconds to go, so you have a chance for an offensive rebound, but Ryder doesn't have a chance to take it the other way.
Mendez should stay around the rim, I think. Maybe a follow.
Johnson a reach in as Duffey tried to drive down the lane. Second foul on Jerry Johnson, who's had a rough half. He hit that early 3 and is now 1 for 5 for the half.
A little wrinkle. How about a press after this if they make it? Attack him a little bit. Don't let him get over the front. You get a little hungry, greedy.
6.6 to go.
No.
Shooting, yeah.
Nobody's gotten close enough to anybody to foul on defense.
There's only been 6 fouls called in the half. 2 on Ryder, both on Jerry Johnson.
Nice kick back.
Mendez, that would be an appropriate finish to the half. A 3 for Juan Mendez. 18 points, matching his total the entire game yesterday. And Niagara goes to the dressing room on a roll with a 12-point lead.
Drive and get somebody's attention. Little pump fake Jay to kick back. The big fella with the puppies nails it.
He was going to set a screen. It was refused, and he just popped back to the three-point line. That is a momentum builder.
Time now for the 7-Up halftime report. Let's head back to Reese Davis and Rider graduate Digger Phelps.
All right, Sean Digger.
Without some buffalo wings, we enjoyed our sampling of the local cuisine here in Buffalo today. We're at halftime. It's the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference Championship game. A 12-point lead for Niagara. And the player of the year in the conference, Juan Mendez, looked very much like that in the first half.
Well, he was so strong inside. He had 18 points in that first half. They got him the ball often. He knew what to do with it. He handled double teams. And his partners were pretty good as well.
I love the passing of this team. I mean, they found one another. They're unselfish. They can push the ball and get some open floor opportunities. Rider seems to be a second-half team, though, consistently all year. They've been a great road team, according to the coaches and their record, the best in the league. But this is not an easy gym to win in with all the Niagara people here. Big influence.
Well, Jerry Johnson was very quiet. He's their leading scorer at 19 per game. He had an early three, and then that was it for Rider, but he tends to score in the second half. Of course, most of Mendez's touches were much closer to the basket, with more opportunity to score, and he capitalized. What an impressive finish to his Niagara career he is putting on. Of course, probably either way, this won't be the end. Even should they lose, they're likely, I would think, to be an NIT team, as they were last year after losing to Manhattan in the conference championship game. They beat Troy and then lost to Nebraska in the second round of the NIT.
Brooks, a guy should be acknowledged. What, 7 assists, Jay? Terrific teamwork. The Rider has to pound it in. This 2-3 zone is giving them problems.
Boy, Niagara did share the ball very effectively in the first half. 18 field goals, 15 of them assisted.
And you know, they're matching up out of this now.
Nice move by Edwin Muniz, and he goes to the bucket. He has 6. The junior from Passaic, New Jersey. They scored in double figures in each of their 2 wins here in the tournament against Canisius and Fairfield.
And Sean, I like his game. He just plays slow and relaxed. He's not in a hurry. Very intelligent player.
You know, after that last play by Rider, I took a look over at Joe Mihalich, and he was beside himself, not sure whether to get on his team or what to do, just kind of turned around. Rider lifts their eyebrows, and Mendez left his feet and jumped up to the ceiling.
Cruz threw up a wild shot, got his own rebound and missed. Wide open putback, and then a foul called after Jason Thompson had the rebound. He was fouled by J.R. Duffey, his second, just the 5th against Niagara, which shot 55%. There are only 6 fouls called in the first half between the 2 teams.
Coach Jay's comment that they weren't near enough didn't go undetected. A lot of open opportunities, you're right.
Here's Jerry Johnson to Paul Johnson. He was the star for Rider in the first half. Paul had 12. Jason Thompson, now Robert Taylor, and Muniz the other starter in the second half here for the Bronx of Rider from Lawrenceville, New Jersey. A 3 for Taylor. 5 points for Robert, a 4-year starter for Coach Harnum.
How deep was that? And Miles done a nice job on Johnson, by the way. He's not even getting touches.
Brooks tried to answer with a 3. Mendez, boy, that was easy. That's the problem for Rider, and Coach Harnum knows it very well. They just don't have the size and strength to match up inside with Mendez.
Just a beast down low. Moves everybody out of the way to get that offensive rebound and finish.
Muniz dropped the pass. Cruz picked it off. Here's Brooks in transition. Missed a left-handed layup out of bounds. I believe to Niagara. Was last touched by Muniz.
Well, that was a well-run fast break. Unfortunately, Brooks couldn't finish at the end, but this one is about 28 feet and nothing but nylon. That gets them into a pressing situation. Ringing a bell.
And Taylor, a good shooter. Awfully nice to have a hand up, though.
Got to challenge them no matter where they are.
Alvin Cruz, 103 straight starts for Niagara. And now Brooks.
Nice.
Split a double team. Dumps it off for Duffey, who scores right underneath the basket. 4 points for J.R. Duffey.
Where Mendez moves out, opens up dribble opportunities for others.
I think that's the 8th assist for Brooks.
Mooney's on the baseline, blocked by Mendez. The push by Lorenzo Myles. Jerry Johnson shut him off, and then Brooks fouled on a reach in.
That bailed out there. He was not in a good position to get something done.
Well, they're a little more aggressive than Don's kids right now. Of course, the guy that watched his dad coach for many years was on a lot of buses. Got this Ryder program ticking, but you're right, Jay, right here.
Yeah, nowhere to go.
Reach. Yeah, he was dead.
Foul on Taylor. His first, and a 2-shot opportunity for David Brooks. Don Harnum is the son of a coach. His dad, Don Sr., coached at Susquehanna in Pennsylvania and at the University of Delaware in the mid-70s. Coach Harnum said, "I've been riding team buses since I was 5 years old."
I used to get a rash when I got on a bus. It was usually a loss. But Mendez once more defensively trying to contain Muniz, who is a very clever offensive performer.
He gave up the baseline, but was able to recover and keep him down on the baseline. Are these the first free throws Niagara shot tonight?
Yes.
How about that?
Coach Harnum told us his dad is not here tonight. He said he came to 3 games this year. We lost all 3. So he's an old coach. He's superstitious. He said, "My dad told me he didn't even think about coming either."
He gave him the heave-ho.
Maybe just doesn't like him.
Most coaches are superstitious. I'm sure the dad understands.
Jerry Johnson still can't get it going. Brooks, a great save to keep it to Mendez.
Boy, how high did he get up?
He has been playing great basketball for this team. He can really elevate strong legs.
The sense of urgency of a senior.
Niagara averages 86 points per game, 5th in the nation. Everybody can score, and there's Lorenzo Myles with a strong drive. He has 10, the lead up to 15, and a timeout called by Ryder. Chance for the seniors for Niagara to get over this hurdle and get to the tournament, and Brooks and Mendez have been terrific tonight. Digger Phelps, our friend and colleague, among the most prominent alums of Ryder. Used to be Ryder College, became Ryder University in the early 90s. 5,300 total, about 3,300 of them undergraduates. Digger really not even the greatest coach. I hate to say it.
No,
he's right. Claire B, one of the great coaches of all time.
Dick Kuchin, of course, Claire B, the Chip Hilton books.
I think Digger might disagree with that assertion.
Oh, I would agree. You said distinguished or prominent alums.
Well, Digger's become distinguished since he's turned gray.
The elder statesman. And by the way, Niagara has their share when you think of Hubert Brown and Frank Layden as former coaches.
Larry Costello.
Yeah, that's right. Very good.
Out of bounds, and now immediate timeout. They love Digger everywhere, including at his old alma mater.
On the net.
Don Harnum and his staff trying to figure out a way to get this turned around. First, they are a quick strike team. It's Tommy Dempsey in the middle, Fred Dupree, Gerhard Sanchez, the other assistants. Ryder at 19 and 10. A nice win at Penn against the Ivy League champs. They come in having won 4 in a row. It's the 4th time this year they've had a 4-game winning streak, but they haven't been able to win 5 in a row yet this year. And this one is looking dubious at best. We mentioned Claire B. There's Mouton in the lane, well short. Mendez pulled it down. Of course, one of the great figures in college basketball coaching, won a national championship at LIU. But he founded varsity sports at Ryder in the late 20s. He was an accounting professor and brought varsity sports to Ryder. He himself coached football, basketball, and baseball. And when he wasn't on his way to the Basketball Hall of Fame, he was writing those popular Chip Hilton books. He invented the shot clock.
I mean, Bob Knight waxes eloquently when he speaks about him. He revered him, big influence on him and his coaching life. And it's a nice little alley-oop here.
The score inside by Jason Thompson.
By the way, the Chip Hilton book was predicated, I'm told, on Bob Davies. You know, the All-American type of individual, the great All-American at Seton Hall.
Jack Madden was a longtime referee in the NBA. Was a great player at Rider in the mid-60s and also a pitcher on their baseball team. And Jack Madden, I think, was the all-time leading scorer and rebounder at Rider.
Good penetration. Look at this. That is pretty. Send it in. Big fella. All because of Cruz control.
They moved the defense from side to side, took their time, but yet were aggressive for the whole possession.
Alvin Cruz to Juan Mendez, the two longtime teammates back to prep school in Florida. The runner wouldn't go for Paul Johnson. Here's Cruz leading a 3-on-2 break. He went right by Jerry Johnson and was fouled by Mouton on the pass.
Boy, he has some speed and seems to have control as well. Drive, draw, and deliver. A southpaw. Little completion.
Well, anytime your defense is forced to help up, as Castleberry was forced to do there, you are going to give up a layup.
Cruz, the only thing he did wrong there, Jay, of course, he got fouled. They're saying it was on the pass. You're anticipating that whistle. Just let it fly.
Paul Johnson goes out. Castleberry's in. Mooney's, Jerry Johnson, Mouton, and Paul Johnson for Ryder. And there's a step back three for Lorenzo Myles.
Great deployment. He knew exactly where his teammate was, even though Hooks was out of control. Great find.
I think they can feel it right now. Niagara, a lot of bounce.
Paul Johnson the miss. The shot's just not falling. You wonder about the fatigue for Ryder. Nice. 3 games in 3 days. Cruz underneath. The easy score for Duffey. 6 for J.R. Duffey. A 16-point lead. 14 minutes to go. And another timeout called by the Bronx. Their last NCAA appearance in 1970. Niagara's been in 6 conference championship games since. Will tonight be the night they finally get back into the big dance? They're starting to feel it.
How about that attitude? He's the guy that runs it. You know, we used to play Niagara every year. Taps Gallagher was the great coach. In fact, the building's named after him. And to go in there and win, they had a lady under the basket, and on a free throw, she would stick you with a pin. The better players. It never happened to me. But it was such a great atmosphere, and almost moving it down here to this building, they've got great support. It can be intimidating.
Jerry Johnson to the offensive rebound and dunk by Steve Castleberry. 4 off the bench for Castleberry.
I like Don Harnum in that timeout. He's very relaxed. And just get back to your game. No panic.
Even they can make it close. I mean, Niagara has the history of heartbreaking losses in this tournament over the last couple of years. If you could just put pressure on them at the end and make it more difficult on them.
It does prey on your mind if you've had that difficulty.
Especially for these seniors at their last chance. And a travel, the call against Cruz. Tomorrow night, ESPN's coverage of Championship Week continues with the Women's Big East Championship game presented by State Farm as Connecticut battles Rutgers. Championship Week presented by 7-Up on ESPN tomorrow night at 7 Eastern. Johnson just cannot get anything to fall. He still has just the 3 points. 2,000-point career score. Myles at the other end. Buries another 3.
How about the rebound by Mendez? I mean, he showed you all of his back. Very impressive 2-hand snare.
In traffic as well.
Yeah.
18 points for Myles, 10 above his season high. Mendez deflected the shot by Castleberry. Second block for Mendez.
Sure, they can feel it, I think, these kids now. A lot of excitement on the sideline.
Now you can afford to be patient. You want to be aggressive, but won't hurt to run some clock.
Nice hands. Castleberry very alert. It's got to be a walk, yeah, once you fall to the floor.
Watch this rebound by Mendez. The block out. And then he goes to pursue the ball, and here the block. Castleberry going over that left shoulder, and Mendez read it all the way.
Jay, we always talk about being patient on offense. You've got to be patient defensively too, not to leap too soon or push forward. Control your weight balance.
And Jason Thompson called for a foul. He was holding his man at the free throw line. First foul on the freshman Thompson.
Tough to tell who's ahead there when you had that shot of the coaches and who was behind.
Yeah, Joe always looks like he's in pain. Joe Mihalich, 48 years old. Boy, did he wait a long time for a chance to be a head coach. He was 17 years at Lasalle. That was a 5-second violation. He was beginning to wonder if he'd ever get a chance. Niagara gave him that chance. He had a lot of people tell him, don't go there. You can't win there. All he's done is have 7 consecutive winning seasons. The first coach to do that since the legendary Coach Gallagher in the 1930s.
Now they got a keeper, and they know it. They've taken good care of Joe.
He had a chance perhaps to go back to his alma mater, LaSalle, where he spent so many years as an assistant with Speedy Morris. But he said, my wife Mary likes it. Our kids like it. They have 3 boys. It's a great community to raise a family.
Plus, he'd invested in all those purple ties.
Time out. Well, in recent years, Niagara's had a couple of heartbreakers at the wire in this conference championship game, including last year. Playing Manhattan, Luis Flores of the Jaspers missed a free throw with 10 seconds to go. A chance for the win for Niagara in the final seconds. Tramel Darden, one of the great players in school history, with the desperation heave that did not go. And Manhattan defeated Joe Mihalich's Purple Eagles to advance to the NCAA Tournament. They don't want to let it get down to a last-second shot here tonight. Niagara hoping for back-to-back 20-win seasons. They won 22 games last year. Of course, that loss at Providence was at the beginning of the year in the preseason NIT, and they had a 13-point lead late in that game.
Turned it over, you remember, pressure in the backcourt. Very impressive that evening.
But it's funny, I remember going back, all of us, to see the coaches afterwards, not only from Providence, but also Niagara. And Joe Mihalich was almost inconsolable because remember he said you don't get this many chances to beat a team from the Big East, and we gave one away.
Amazing, the competitiveness of a guy. Yeah, there's no comfort really other than the fans might appreciate a close loss.
If you win, you get another chance perhaps on national TV. You know, all they would have had to do is beat Penn, which would have been difficult, but certainly doable. They would have wound up in the Garden.
Yeah, there's a lot of exigencies.
Crowd thought that was a travel, and Jerry Johnson finally scores again. He had a 3 in the opening moments. He had missed 7 straight shots. He's now 2 for 9 from the field. Ryder will need a lot from Jerry Johnson, who has scored 2,042 career points. The 10th player in the history of the state of New Jersey in Division I to score 2,000 points, led by Bill Bradley, who scored over 2,500 in 3 years for Princeton. Mendez a miss. There's Johnson again, number 2 all-time at Ryder behind Derek Suber in scoring. He only had a 2,000-point score for the Bronx.
Now that's his game, by the way. You know, some people were looking and said, "Oh, a bad shot." That's the style, and they've been successful with it.
What a career Johnson has had. Don Harms, I don't think any other coach in our league even knew his name when he first came to Ryder. He was not highly recruited.
Look at this.
A run out here for Jerry Johnson. He was overshadowed in his own league in high school in Pennsylvania by John Allen, who was starring at Coatesville, Pennsylvania. Broke all of Richard Hamilton's scoring records at that school, and of course went on to Seton Hall.
Rip. They're not doing bad with the Pistons right now.
And that's a good point, though, Sean. He's been overshadowed in this league as well, not only by Mendez this year, but also Keedron Clark of St. Peter's, the nation's leading scorer. Last year it was Luis Flores at Manhattan.
And it's a shame he's not playing better tonight, because here's a chance on national TV to show what a great player he is, and he's an outstanding player. But he just hasn't had it tonight. And again, you wonder about the fatigue. Joe Mihalich said he doesn't like the double bye, but his team looks a lot fresher tonight. Cruz, does that mean we get breakfast?
I said only dinner.
That's a
3 of them.
shot clock violation.
I think the
Mike
third.
Kitts just told the Niagara bench to sit down. The assistant coach is very animated over there.
Look at this here, the number of times they had different looks. Some doubles on them. The box and chaser.
And Artie McDonald coming from underneath the basket to say that The ball did hit the rim. Ed Corbett asking him, are you sure?
They're going to go to the monitor, so the teams will huddle around their coaches. Coach Mihalik's staff is Matt Dillon, Akbar Wahid, and Luke Dobrich. They've done a great job helping Joe Mihalich with this great run of success, which had been hard to come by for a long time at Niagara before Joe took over. This is their third regular season conference title in their 7 years up on the Canadian border.
Beautiful campus, by the way. Years ago, took a little trip up there. The old days, it was a honeymoon spot. I'm sure it still is.
It still is for some. The officials are taking a look at the replays to see if the shot clock was set or reset properly. That'll give us a chance to remind you that tonight coverage of Championship Week presented by 7-Up continues on ESPN at St. Mary's, the #2 seed in the West Coast Conference against Gonzaga, the #1 seed, ranked number 12 in the nation this week. It's the West Coast Conference Championship game presented by 7-Up. Midnight Eastern time tonight on ESPN. Gonzaga 24-4, ranked 11th. Their RPI is 11. They're ranking 12, as you saw, and some good wins and nothing too shaky about those losses.
No, I mean, they're obviously going to the tournament no matter what happens. Just a question of where they're going to be seated. They'll probably be in the 3 to 4 range. I would guess a 3 seed.
Right about St. Mary's at 25-7. They've won 5 in a row. In bracketology, Joe Lenardi has them as a 9 seed right now.
No, they're in the tournament as well. I mean, this is just for the West Coast Conference Championship, not for inclusion into the tournament. Both those teams are going in.
The officials have taken quite a few looks at the shot clock. I think they're trying to decide if at some point during this possession it should have been reset if a ball hit the rim. This is what they looked at. That didn't hit the rim. It
did. Yeah. Marty McDonald was right.
Yeah.
So now Don Harnum is chatting with the officials. They put 28 seconds on the shot clock because it did hit the rim with about 7 to go. So they've taken 7 off what should have been the fresh 35, and they give the ball back to Niagara. I would assume they put time on the game clock back.
And Niagara very quick to those errant tosses or loose things. A very energized team.
Cruz guarded tightly by Mouton. Duffey missed a 3. Cruz a rebound in traffic. He goes right back up to the bucket. And there's Mendez.
Too big, too tough, too strong. You get everybody pushed under the rim, and Mendez dominates.
Not much of a question. Who's the MVP thus far in this game? It's been Juan Mendez.
He has 24 points.
Pretty look. Oh, got to squeeze it.
Carmel Minion couldn't squeeze it. And then it's out of bounds off Ryder.
Mendez with the block on Castleberry. Just waited patiently for it. Stepping away. And then taking the gift.
Both ends of the floor, huh? Not bad leadership.
And as we come back live, the 3 missed out of the corner by Brooks. Mendez, #2 all-time in scoring. Now with 2,185 points. Only Calvin Murphy with 2,548 has more. He will graduate with a degree in sociology. One of 12 children ranging in age from 15 to 33. They grew up in Montreal. We're in Buffalo, New York. They're a crowd of about 6,000 cheering on the Purple Eagles of Niagara, just a few miles from their campus. And they have the big lead, 21 points over Ryder with 8.5 to go. Bill Raftery, Jay Billis, along with Sean McDonough, delighted to have you with us.
And a nice job by Duffey here. Outstanding play. Make sure he doesn't get the body involved. Strip it from the rear. They've just come up with more plays more often.
Duffey goes out to a nice hand. The runner is up and good for Robert Taylor. He has 7. He had 23 in their win over Niagara at Ryder on February 26th, that double overtime game.
Trying to extend the floor now, shake him up, and Niagara doesn't turn the ball over. Quick split the traps. They usually find somebody.
Well, they got a number of different handlers. They're all good passers, and they certainly have not panicked when they faced any kind of pressure.
Myles, a nice compliment to Cruz too. Look at this, the little floater teardrop.
Mendez might have been bumped a bit by Minium on the putback. There's Mathis. He couldn't get it to go. And finally was ripped away by Paul Johnson. Under 8 minutes to go. Niagara still up by 19. Nunez fouled by James Mathis. His second. And the fourth against the Purple Eagles. Timeout. 7:51 to go in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference Championship.
Missouri Valley Conference. That is Creighton's Kellen Milk.
And here we have 8 minutes to go. Niagara inching closer to its first bid to the NCAA Tournament since 1970. And they were talking about the Missouri Valley. Big surprise in that conference. Southern Illinois, the best team all year, got knocked off. But you think they are, and I think everybody agrees, clearly going to be in the NCAA Tournament. And you have them as one of your dangerous teams.
I think they are a dangerous team. Not only Darren Brooks, Stetson Harrison, they've also got a young man named Jamal Tatum, who is a big-time talent and a guy that has the ball on a string. But I think Connecticut has been overlooked at this point in the season. They're ranked.
Well, I mean, the other 60 teams are not going to be dangerous. Like those are your 5 dangerous teams. Everybody else has no danger associated with it.
They're just a little more dangerous, or a little, maybe they're overlooked in their dangerousness.
I have to say,
danger is their middle name.
Bill and I are concerned for you because your lack of airtime on the ESPN family of networks. I mean, we're glad to see it. We don't know where you've been lately. I think just launched ESPNU. What's next? ESPN Billis, all J, all day, every day?
I think the higher-ups feel sorry for me working with you guys. I don't get to speak.
You were on twice the other day, once live, once on tape from Thursday. You were outside the lines. Do you know what your family looks like? Wendy loves having you home for that half hour, right?
He was on PTI today. He was on ESPN News. I mean, he's on Sports Center all the time. He's a star. We're working with a star.
There's a star.
9 points for David Brooks.
Well, you know what I love when they ask you about a dark horse? I mean,
and a 3 at the other end for Jerry Johnson, and he has 10.
And people get offended when you say somebody like, well, Villanova, you know, they're pretty good. They're coming along. I heard Digger say Arizona, and really nobody's saying that they can win the championship. That's a pretty good pick, too. But everybody knows the Gonzagas of the world.
Boy, Brooks is a much improved shooter. I thought yesterday in the semifinals, and Joe Mihalich said it, he said 32 was the reason we won. But he was just a tough son of a bucket yesterday. Just did a great job.
Excuse me?
Is that allowed on every one of your networks on which you appear?
Pardon that interruption.
Well, it might be a little early to do this. It's a 16-point game, but let's project Niagara ahead. Manhattan, as we saw, very dangerous in the NCAA tournament, won a game last year. Do you think the winner of this game could have similar success and win a game?
We were talking earlier. I don't know if these teams are as good as Manhattan was in the last 2 years. But you know what? I'm not giving up on this one yet. You know, all precincts haven't reported.
Well, especially with Jerry Johnson, if he can hit threes and get heated up. But you take a look at Niagara. This is a very good team. Defensively, they give up a few points, but they can really score. But I think last year, I agree with you, Bill. Last year, that Manhattan team, not only Peter Mulligan, Dave Holmes, but Louis Flores. And Holmes was just a terrific player at this level, the kind of guy that can make a difference. And I was really impressed with the way they played last year.
And Flores as well in the NBA, a guy that you could really count on, got to the free throw line frequently. But having said that, these people are going to have to play Mendez, and Cruz is one of the guys that breaks the D down and gets to the rim. How about this? The little guy to the 10.
A great possession for Niagara. Ran down a lot of the clock, and with it under 10, Cruz to the bucket, a chance for the three-point play. 5 team fouls now on Ryder.
Well, everybody just sort of, instead of stepping in front to stop him after he got by Taylor and got the angle, Nobody really stepped forward to cut off that lane.
Did you see the smile at the end of that? So satisfying, gratifying, as he puts it on the deck and makes the heads turn.
Hey, there is nothing better than knowing you're in control in a championship game.
And that was not a control play there.
Lorenzo Myles, the 5th team foul against Niagara in this half. It's been a foul-free game, only 16 fouls total in this up-and-down affair. Second personal on Myles. Long jumper by Jerry Johnson, controlled in the corner by Cruz, who was fouled as he passed up. No, he was not fouled. He stepped on the sideline, said Artie McDonald, or traveled. Our view of Artie was blocked. We look at the in-game star watch, and Mendez with another double-double, and that's been the case 20 times this season now in 29 games.
The guy just loads him up, so that would be 47 double-doubles in his career, I think.
His consistency remarkable.
William Short with a jumper. Great effort by Ryder to get that offensive rebound. Paul Johnson bumped before he could shoot. Well, it's not yet the 1-and-1, and Ryder will play it from out of bounds, down by 19 with 6:07 to go.
That rundown of the loose ball by Cruz indicative of the hustle plays they've come up with, even though he did walk at the end of it. And that time Mendez really chucked his guy.
And Cruz, an underrated leader. I mean, he's a big reason for this team's success. A 3-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio. He is just solid at the point.
Good rebound in traffic by Mathis off a Taylor miss.
I like the way they're playing. They're not pulling the plug, but they're being fundamentally sound in their approach.
Well, you wonder the way they play if they're just better sticking with the hammer here, because yesterday they tried to pull the air out of the ball. It seemed a little bit against Iona and almost blew a 9-point lead with 3 minutes to go. They're just not used to that stand around in the half-court thing.
Well, I don't think they need to take the air out of the ball. Just be a little more selective. Don't take the first shot you see. Make the other team guard you.
And also, you can run and pry. You don't have it, bring it back out, or just give it to this guy. Usually good things happen.
Mendez did not get the shot, and it'll be Ryder's ball. Yesterday they were up by 9 with about 3 minutes to go. Iona came back, got it to within 1, and had the ball in the last 20 seconds, but a nice defensive play by Mendez got the ball back for Niagara, and a couple of free throws by Brooks sealed the victory. Brooks with the rebound. They're ticking down to 5 minutes to go here in Buffalo, and Niagara still comfortably ahead.
Boy, Brooks looks like a 6'3" Ben Wallace going after those rebounds.
Somebody. Tough competitor. And Joe Mihalich just wishing this clock would go as quickly as possible.
One of the great guys in college coaching. Will be a popular victory among his peers, and one of the funny guys too. He says, I need a hip replacement. That's the only thing I have in common with Mike Krzyzewski. Earlier this year he told us, I don't know if I can do this coaching thing, but I know I can't do anything else.
And we can relate to that.
Well, he said that's one of the reasons why he knows his wife Mary loves him. He says she's the only one who laughs at my jokes. And they've been married since their days at Lasalle. They met in a class at Lasalle. Mary now a elementary school nurse in the Niagara Falls area. They have 3 teenage sons.
And he likes the lifestyle of upstate
New York. He loves it. There's Mary Mihalich on the left of your screen, and on the right, Dolores, Joe's mom, we mentioned earlier, 80 years old, stricken with cancer.
Her prayers may be answered. 4:40 to go.
She said, it's my dream to see my son coach as a head coach in the NCAA Tournament. And she is nearing that dream, and she's gone through a lot of chemotherapy that cost her hair. And he's drawn great inspiration from his mom. He said, you know, we go through the ups and downs of coaching, the winning and losing, and you see what she goes through at her age with her attitude. She said, hey, I'm 80 years old. At my age, every day is a gift.
Well, she's the real athlete, right?
Well, she sure is.
Competitive.
And it's nice when you talk to your team. When you talk about toughness, all you have to do is point to your mom as an example.
A number of the players say, you know, he doesn't bring that up. It's a personal thing, and he doesn't want to put that on us. But we know how much it would mean for our coach to get to the tournament with his mom able to come to the games and watch.
You mentioned the hip before, and I was talking to some of the people around the program. He never brings the hip up. And tonight in the locker room, I said, does it bother? He said it hurts. But he would never let anybody know.
Boy, when he was jumping up and down on the sidelines, he looked pretty nimble.
You can tell just in the way he walks that it bothers him. He was a player at Lasalle, a walk-on. Played with Kobe Bryant's dad, Joe Bryant.
Jelly bean.
70s, yep. Cruz, his pass deflected out of bounds by Ryder. Niagara will have 3 seconds to shoot after immediate timeout. 3:48 to go in Buffalo.
Please welcome the Ryder Broncos cheerleaders.
Nice. Nice.
Back in Buffalo for the final 3 minutes 48 seconds of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference Championship game, the winner to the NCAA Tournament. And right now it's Niagara in control, looking for their first bid since 1970. And Frank Layden was the coach. They had Frank Layden Day at the Gallagher Center earlier this season. Gave out Frank Layden bobblehead dolls. Calvin Murphy was the star. That school of 3,500 on the Niagara River, about 4 miles from Niagara Falls, right on the Canadian border. Mrs. Mihalich can feel it. Another 3 expands the lead to 22 points.
Hey, you know, I'm thinking every day is a Frank Layden Day. One of the great gentlemen to ever grace the sideline. A thespian as well. Has performed in the plays up there at Niagara. He can feel it.
Yep, they can feel it. Rabid student section. It's a Vincentian school, Catholic school. About 3,500 undergrads.
Great spirit at that school.
Yep.
Nice hockey program, basketball.
Yeah, they brought hockey back at the Division I level a few years ago. Cruz makes the first. He's 4 for 4 from the line. He has 11 points and 6 rebounds as the point guard at 6'1", 185 pounds from Rio Piedras, Puerto Rico.
I actually coached at Rio Piedras in the summer.
With Bill Guthridge, didn't you?
Bill Guthridge was at Ponce. He won it all, of course. That's when I realized I should try and get on the sideline with a headset.
When are you going to realize maybe that's not such a great idea either?
With you as an example, I'll hang tough.
Brooks fouled as he goes to the basket. Jerry Johnson there to make sure he's all right.
And even now, Joe Mihalich telling his team, get together.
Brooks continues an aggressive play.
Could have very well been called intentionally. Grabbed his jersey as he went after the ball.
4 personals on Jerry Johnson, 9 team fouls, and 2 shots for Brooks, who did not score in that championship game lost to Manhattan. He said it haunted him for a year. He has certainly atoned for that with his performance here in Buffalo. 23 points yesterday and 9 rebounds against Jeff Ruland's Iona team. And a terrific all-around game here today against Ryder.
And Sean, the next 2 weeks at Niagara, they're going to embark on a journey that'll be enjoyed by the community around the school. Internally, the media will be all over them. What an experience for this program. It does great for the image of a university as well.
And Ryder should be very proud of its accomplishments. Since Coach Harnum's been there 15 years, this is 16th as an assistant or a head coach. Every player who completed his eligibility has earned a degree in addition to their success on the court. Championship week continues, presented by 7-Up, the Horizon League Championship from Milwaukee tomorrow night on ESPN, 9 Eastern Time. Detroit against University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. Here come the Purple Eagles. Cruz back to Brooks.
They are having a ball right now. Whoa, whoa. And Mom, thumbs up.
She's been through a great deal to be here tonight and savor this moment. Brooks called for the foul as they look for another run out. Leading by 27 now with 2:46 to go. 3 fouls on Brooks after his score expanded the lead. She doesn't look like an 80-year-old woman suffering with cancer who's been enduring regular treatments.
I'll tell you what, you couldn't dance with her.
No.
You don't have that kind of energy.
No, I do not.
Plus, she'd say no.
Which would have her in line with everybody else I've ever asked. Shot from the lane by Robert Taylor. 4 points for Taylor.
Check that, 9 points for Taylor.
What a nice moment for these seniors to be able to bask in this glory of their accomplishment.
And so much pressure. You know, with each opportunity, there's a reality that you're running out of chances. So more pressure tonight than ever, you would think, on these Niagara seniors, particularly the 3 starters, Cruz, Brooks, and Mendez. All of them outstanding. Of course, they've done this without Sharon Fisher, their highly touted freshman out of Philadelphia, who injured his knee 17 games in and has not played since. He was averaging 6 points and 3 rebounds a game for them. Joe Mihalich says we have some nice players coming in next year, but not like what we're losing. So it might be a while before they're in this position again at Niagara.
Well, you have to build again and get that maturity and get that maturity together. But it was a great point, Sean, about the pressure. And at this level, the quote-unquote mid-major level, to have a great season and have the validation of that season come down to your conference tournament. I mean, that is real pressure on these kids at the major schools. They just don't go through that. They get a bid whether they win or lose their conference tournament. For these kids, it's all or nothing, and that can be hard to deal with.
You know, Joe Mihalich said he didn't like the double bite for the reason that you get rusty sitting around. The other teams are playing. You're watching. They were sluggish yesterday, but I think it was an advantage tonight.
Absolutely.
They certainly look like the fresher team, playing only twice in 2 days compared to Ryder's 3 times in 3 days.
The legs of Brooks would be a good example, and the class and dignity of Ryder just to get here, a great accomplishment for Don Harnum and that particular institution.
Mouton lays it in. His first bucket for Terrence.
I'll tell you, Joe Mihalich, I've been watching him after each play, and he is almost suffering over there, waiting for this game to end.
He wants the clock to keep running. Tantalizing for a couple of years, as noted. And now, the proof. Sunday night in Niagara Falls, checking in to see where they're going.
Selection Sunday is going to be a lot of fun in Niagara.
Myles missed a 3. Under a minute to go. Niagara on its way to the NCAA Tournament for the first time in 35 years. And Coach Joe Mihalich, at age 48, about to achieve his dream to be a head coach in the NCAA Tournament. Juan Mendez's mom here, Mrs. Watkins. They're ready to storm the court. Alvin Cruz just dribbled over here and said, we got it. We finally got it.
I think they're going to get a shot violation here. That way they can get the subs in, too, without in any way denigrating the opponent.
And the clash you would expect from a Joe Mihalich team.
That hug of Cruz, who loves you?
There's already a sea of humanity over by that Niagara bench. Cameras clicking away. Mouton throws in a 3. Since Calvin Murphy started and Frank Layden coach, they've been waiting on the banks of the Niagara River. The wait is over, and here come the students. Don Harnum with a hug for Joe Mihalich. Coach Mihalich will live his dream, and his mom, Dolores, will be there to see it. Season ends at 19-11, perhaps another bid to the NIT. And Niagara with back-to-back 20-win seasons, and their season will definitely continue. God bless her.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's one of the great stories of the year.
It really is.
Everybody can relate, certainly. You can't beat the moms.
27 points. 13 rebounds for Mendez. Final score, Niagara 81 and Rider 59. Niagara wins the MAAC title and the bid to the NCAA Tournament. Now for Jay Billis and Bill Raftery, Sean McDonough saying good night from Buffalo, New York. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Let's send you back to Reese Davis now in our studio. Good night, everyone.
All right, Sean, thank you very much. And very few things in sports can bring out that type of raw, real emotion that you see. The life stories behind it with Joe Mihalich and his mother, Niagara, going to the NCAA tournament. What a wonderful story it is. They are the 7th team in officially, and soon we're going to have number 8. It's going to come from the Missouri Valley Conference. That championship game is ready.
The waiting is over for Niagara, but did you know the Conference Division I team that has gone the longest, yes, the longest since its last appearance in the NCAA men's basketball tournament? That would be Harvard. The Crimson have not been to the big dance since 1946.
I didn't say I wasn't alive. I just said I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, whatever. We heard you.
Do the thing where you disappear now.
Okay, I'm working on it. Let's John. It's that time of the year. Craziness on the court. Win and you're in. Passion and pressure on display. You have to hit the big shot and sink those free throws, or your tournament hopes will disappear into thin air. We have the madness and the magic right now on SportsCenter.
This is SportsCenter.
Who has their dance card punched and who could be left on the outside looking in? Shaq delivering the heat early and often to AI and the Sixers. Miami's NBA Vice playing like a team possessed. And yeah, it's only March, but tell that to the Yankees and Red Sox taking in their spring swings. Giambi getting his.
You know, it's Yankees, Red Sox, and I got booed before. I'm sure it'll be no different.
Hi, glad you're there. Really glad you're here. Yeah,
Yes.
okay, that's good.
You had the power to make me appear again. Very good.
Linda Cohen, John Anderson. Anybody feel like dancing?
Oh, yeah. I can think of 4 teams who would love to, but not like that, please. Old Dominion and Virginia Commonwealth in the Colonial Athletic Association Championship game. The winner gets an NCAA tournament berth. Alex Loughton, the 6'9 Aussie, 12 of 19 from the field. We have a tie game. Later, Isaiah Hunter. Hunter looking for space. The shot, no. So we go to overtime. In overtime, ODU up 2. Loughton. For Dinkum, that's a beauty. 6 of his 28 coming in overtime. ODU in control, but it's a 2-point game. We got an arrow. Look at Derek Reed and Jeff Capel. They're clearly signaling for a timeout. The refs call a held ball. ODU gets possession. Next play, Loughton with the inbounds. Get the spot shadow working. Watch Isaiah Hunter. He'll lose his defender, sprint for the basket, and Hunter doesn't miss from there. 61-57, Old Dominion. Can we see it again? It is a top 10 nominee. Yeah, great pass by Loughton on that one. So ODU clinches an NCAA tournament berth, the first CAA title for ODU since 1997. For the 4th straight year, the outright regular season champion in the Colonial Athletic Association also won its postseason tournament. Old Dominion, which went 15-3 in conference play, advances to the NCAA tournament for the first time worth repeating since '97 when it fell to New Mexico in the first round.
Arch Madness of the Missouri Valley Conference. Southwest Missouri State, Creighton 4-0 in the title game under Dana Altman, but they lost twice to Barry Hinson's Bears this season. Jeffrey Day doesn't want that to happen again from inside. Jays up by 4. Later in the first half, all Blue Jays. Dane Watts, rebound, kick it out. Kellen Milliner, that's a stroke for 3. Creighton up by 6. Halfway through the first half, Dane Watts, this time not rebounding, this time open. Fire. He had 14. Blue Jays led at the half 38-32. Second half, more from Creighton. The kids from Omaha, Swell, Tyler McKinney. They shot 39% from 2, 48% from 3. Jimmy Motts with a three. Creighton wins it going away. They hit 12 threes, 75-57. They are on to the NCAA Tournament. Creighton wins the Valley title for the 5th time in 7 years and 9th time overall. Blue Jays lost to Central Michigan in the first round of the NCAA Tournament in 2003. Year before that, they upset Florida in double overtime before falling to the Illini in the 2nd round. Here are your MAAC daddies. Niagara Rider in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference Finals. Juan Mendez and his team trying to get to the tournament for the first time since 1970 when Kelvin Murphy was a senior on the team. I mean, when you got to go back to black and white, it's been a while.
Vintage.
Niagara, Monday, big. First half action, David Brooks, Lorenzo Myles for 3. Niagara is up 8. Myles had 16 points. Second half action, Niagara by 13. Alvin Cruz, give it to Mendez. Nice dish inside. Mendez 27 points. Niagara wins at 81-59. Mendez now only trails Kelvin Murphy on the all-time scoring list at Niagara. Big fun in Buffalo. All right, the MAAC has sent at least one school to the NCAA Tournament every year since 1984. Only 2 schools, though, have ever advanced to the 2nd round. LaSalle, 1990. Fran Fraschella's Manhattan Club in 95 when they beat OU down there in Memphis. Bobby Gonzalez's group last year. Back in 2002, Siena won the opening round game. Lost the first round, though, to eventual champ Maryland.
Niagara on its way to the NCAA Tournament for the first time in 35 years.
Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference title game. Top 2 seeds, Niagara and Rider in Buffalo. That's Juan Mendez, the MAAC Player of the Year for Niagara, hits the 3. The senior from Montreal averages 23. Then more Mendez. Then laying on his way to his 20th straight double-double. Niagara up 5. David Brooks to Lorenzo Myles for the 3. Myles had 16. Niagara up 12 at the break. More Niagara. Alvin Cruz to Mendez. 27 points, 13 boards for Mendez. Niagara headed to the dance for the first time since 1970 by virtue of the 81-59 win over Rider. This is the first MAAC tournament title for Niagara. Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference title game. Top 2 seeds, Niagara and Rider in Buffalo. That's Juan Mendez, the MAAC Player of the Year for Niagara, hits the 3. The senior from Montreal averages 23. Then more Mendez. Then laying on his way to his 20th straight double-double. Niagara up 5. David Brooks to Lorenzo Myles for the 3. Myles had 16. Niagara up 12 at the break. More Niagara. Alvin Cruz to Mendez. 27 points, 13 boards for Mendez. Niagara headed to the dance for the first time since 1970 by virtue of the 81-59 win over Rider. This is the first MAAC tournament title for Niagara.
Somebody that had one of 2 choices, to kind of pack it in or to say, I'm not going anywhere yet, I got a lot to live for. And one of the things I know she wanted to do was see Niagara University get to the NCAA tournament. So, you know, for me, it was really, really a special time and a special moment, and, you know, I'll just never forget it as long as I live.
Had your brother drive her down from Philadelphia. Last year, she was there. You lost by 1 point in the finals, and she said, I'll be back next year. The year before that, you lost by 1 point in the semis. What did you do as a coach to make sure your team wasn't carrying that weight going into last night's game?
Well, you know, again, I would kind of refer to our 3 seniors, Juan Mendez, David Brooks, Alvin Cruz. You know, those 3 guys, it helped that we had been there before. And they were just so determined. They were just so locked in. You know, they were not going to be denied this time. So those experiences, those heartbreaks, you know, we knew how much it hurt to lose. And we knew last night if we could pull it off, we knew how happy we'd be to win.
Coach, you mentioned Juan Mendez. He's an NBA prospect. He's one of the nation's leading scorer. Big picture, big field. How good a player is he compared to all the good players out there?
You know, it's hard for me to say. I don't get to see all the great ones, but he is sure an intriguing guy. I mean, he finishes around the basket as well as anybody we've ever been around. He's really, really strong, great hands, and he can shoot the ball. I mean, his future lies in how well he's going to put the ball down the floor and how well he's going to defend, but he gets better every year, and you know, he responds to challenges. He played on the Canadian national team this past summer, played against Yao Ming, and at least he tells me he did okay. So it'll be interesting to see.
Coach, what'd you say to your boys after the game, and what'd you say to your mom also?
Well, you know, it was very emotional. It really was. It was. I went down to shake hands with Donnie Harnum, the Rider coach, and turned to walk back, and I had to walk behind the scorer's table because our students, our great fan support students, stormed the court. And I just walked down there, and she was kind of broken up, and I kind of got broken up, and we just told each other that we love each other, and I was just so happy she was there. It was, again, I hate to personalize it, but it was a really special moment for me.
All right, degree in mathematics. What are the odds that Niagara can pull an upset in the first round of the tournament, Coach?
The one thing I remember from my math days is that 3 is more than 2. That's why we shoot so many 3s. But, you know, I don't know. Our kids, I'll tell you what, our kids don't believe in the odds. They have 2 wonderful qualities. They're fearless, and they have a lot of confidence. So we're going to play a great team. We know that. We're going to play a top 12 team. But, you know, our kids are anxious to play.
Coach, you and your mother and your team, easy to root for. Good luck.
Thanks, Neil. Thank you for having us.
Niagara had gone 35 years since Danson. That's nothing compared to Harvard.